You're going to be switching gears a little bit now, turning into geometry, and some of this might be familiar to you from back in grade school, but since you haven't really taken geometry in high school, I thought it might be helpful to make a few notes for you. And so you'll get this note packet and the homework packet, and I'll just kind of go through each note section and then assign a few problems for you to work on, usually the evens or odds. But when you name angles, let's say I have an angle, usually it'll have some points on it and maybe even a number inside. So there are actually several different ways that I can name this angle. I could call this angle B, and this angle symbol is important. That tells me I'm talking about an angle. Or I could call it angle A, B, C, or angle C, B, A. The point here is make sure that the vertex, that center letter, is in the middle. Or I could even call it angle 1. So when I look at the problems below, I would call problem number 2 angle R, or angle SRQ, or angle 1. Now I usually don't write SRQ and QRS because basically they're the same thing. I just wanted to let you know that it doesn't have to necessarily be in alphabetical order. Okay, so 3 would be angle C, or angle BCD, C being in the middle, or angle 4. Next, we're going to get into measuring angles, and when you measure angles, you're going to need a protractor. If you don't have one, you can probably pull one up online and then print it and cut it out. But basically, it doesn't have to be fancy. You just have to be able to read through it. Usually when you look at them, you're going to have 2 sets of numbers. You'll have from 0 to 180 that goes from left to right, and then from 0 to 180 that goes from right to left. And you decide which one you use depending on which way the bottom part of the angle is pointing. So on the next page in the notes, what I do is I line up, and it's a little bit hard to do because I have it kind of pushed up, but I'm going to line up. There's usually a little mark in the center, so that vertex goes in dead center there, and then I'll line up my end line. The bottom line will always point to 0, so that's how I decide if I use the top or the bottom, and then I approximate. It looks like this one goes to 20 degrees. So about 20 degrees I would call that one. You don't have to be perfect on it, it's just the aboutsies. So again, I line it up. Again, because the line is going this direction, that points to 0, so I'm going to be using the black one here. I'll go over that. Looks like that's between 130 and 140, so I'd call that 135 degrees. Now, if, for instance, my angle was going this way, then when I put this on here, that bottom line is going to point to 0. Now I would use the red ones to approximate that angle. That's a little glary, but I think you get what I'm saying. If you have questions, just ask. Our next section is getting into classifying angles, and you can classify angles by sides. No, you can't. You classify angles by their sizes. And so we have less than 90 degrees is acute. Exactly 90 degrees is right. Between 90 degrees, so it's more than 90 degrees, I'll just put a variable at x, this is my angle, whatever my angle is, but less than 180 degrees is obtuse. And then lastly, a 180-degree angle is a straight angle. So acute, right, obtuse, and straight. So the next section is just going to be kind of classifying the angles. If it looks like a line, it's straight. If it's bigger than 90 degrees, remember 90 degrees is like a straight L, okay? If it looks bigger than that, it's obtuse. If it looks smaller than that, it's acute, like 15. If it appears to be 90, we call it right. When I'm drawing angles, I'm going to want to use my protractor again. I'm going to line up that center with the vertice. Again, that's going to point to 0, so I'm going to follow along the black side. I want this one to be 150 degrees. So I'll just go by 150 degrees, and I'll make a little, 150 degrees, I'll make a little point. Sorry, I stuck my pen cap in my mouth. Make a little point, and then I'll connect that to that center. So 140 degrees again, line it up at that point, make a little mark, find 140, this points to 0. Sorry for that bad lighting. Points to 0, so I'm going to follow this over to 140. I'll put a little dot around 140. I'll connect that line. And there's my 140 degree. You can kind of approximate these as well. Nothing real fancy. But the next thing we're going to get into is vertical angles. And so when you have two lines that intersect, you're going to create vertical angles. And the thing with vertical angles is they are congruent to each other. So find the measures of all angles. Congruent to each other, that means across from it would be 39 degrees. And then next to it would be, it has to add to be 180. We call those supplementary. So it adds to 180. So to get this angle here, I would do 180 minus 39. And so that would be 141. And vertical to 141, across from 141, is going to be an equivalent angle. So again, 79, across from 79 is 79. Next to 79 is 180 minus 79. So that'd be 101. Across from 101 is 101 again. And then the last thing, I think, maybe there's one more thing. Let me double check on the notes in this section. Oh yeah, okay. Second last thing. In a triangle, all the angles add to be 180 degrees. So when you look at an angle, right here when I'm looking at this, if I want to find the missing angle, I have 60 degrees. I have a 90 degree angle. That's a marking for a 90 degree angle. So I would do 180 minus 60 minus 90. Do my math. That means the missing one would be 30 degrees. And it doesn't matter what you have. Take your two other angles, 180 minus 26 minus 130. Do the math, and I should get 24 degrees for that one. So that means my missing angle is 24 degrees. Okay, the very last thing that you have is parallel lines, and it just sort of deals with the same kind of thing that we were dealing with when we were doing the vertical angle. So I know diagonal, it's going to be congruent because those are vertical to each other. I also know next to this, this is going to be 180 minus 89. And so that would be 91 degrees, and diagonal from that is 91 degrees. Well, it turns out if these lines are parallel, all that stuff exactly transfers below. So it would be 91, 89. It sort of just duplicates itself. 91, 89. So if I have 99 here, I know diagonal is 99. I know next to would be 81. Diagonal from 81, its vertical angle is 81 again. And then that whole thing would transfer down. So this one is 81, 99, 81, 99. 117, I'll just do one more, but it's the, again, same kind of thing. Diagonal 117, and then it's 180 to get that missing one, 180 minus 117, just kind of like we were doing when we did the vertical angles. So that would be, what, 63 degrees, diagonal from that, vertical angle from that, 63 degrees, and then all of those things transfer down. So it's 63, 117, 63, 117. All right, on your homework, you have the 8-1 section in your homework. I sent the whole packet. Just do the evens or odds in 8-1. As always, if you have questions, just let me know.